what you're gonna do. When the end, destroys you.
Anything less would be civilized.
Hey there, welcome friends and fellow wisdom seekers to the Brave New World Order podcast, straight out the dungeons of podcasting. I am Brandon St. One. Thank you so much for joining me today. I think it is a special day. I'm recording this on 9/11, and this is my very first 9/11 episode. And since I started the podcast, it's the first 9/11 that has passed, so I might as well do an episode on it. And I am pretty excited about that because for me, it is the awakening moment that really sent me down the rabbit hole that eventually led me to where I am now, and which is continuing to keep going down that rabbit hole. Actually, I've never stopped. It's been a free fall down that fucking bottomless pit. So to me, I was pretty young. I was 19 when it happened, but I was always an open-minded young lad, I would say, but I didn't really grasp the full understanding of the illusion that in the spell that everyone is under until I really started going down the rabbit hole even further after 9/11. So I don't know, I can't speak for the world, but I think a lot of people had that same experience. And I'd love to hear from you if that's your experience as well. And I would also love to hear from you if you're a little bit older, or maybe you're my age as well and you just kind of were like awake to things. Because I know there were some people who were pretty prophetic in the 90s, like Bill Cooper, and Alex Jones was spot on right before it happened. And so I'd love to hear from you what your experience was when that happened. Did it, like, were you like, yeah, I'm not surprised? Or was it that moment that kind of really, when you started looking into it, did it really shatter the illusion and the spell that we're under? So I wanted to look at it from that viewpoint and the Hegelian dialect viewpoint of create the problem, provide the solution, along with a bunch of control mechanisms put in place. And from the occult ritual spell casting viewpoint and psychological operation, psychological torment on the citizens to go along with such ghastly plans. So I'm going to dive into all that, the symbolism, a little bit of the gematria, the numerology, just a little bit, just cover a surface area of it and just kind of take a look at it and really what the psychological impact it had and how it is very similar to what we're going through right now and what we have been going through, especially at the beginning of the pandemic in 2021 with the vaccines. And I don't even know if I'm allowed to say that. I might get that little warning when you watch on or you listen on Spotify. I noticed I got that little, for COVID-19 information, click here, like warning, because I mentioned the jab several times. So I guess I must have struck a chord. This little podcast out in the middle of nowhere must have got on somebody's radar, and they put that little warning on mine. So that's cool. I guess that's a little badge of honor. But yeah, I said the word. But yeah, it's very similar. The psychological torment aspect of it, trauma-based mind control part of the pandemic is very similar to what happened with 9/11. So we'll take a look at all of that. But before we do, if you could just take a second to subscribe to the Brave New World Order podcast on whatever platform you're listening to the podcast. That way you can know when new episodes drop. And if you really like the podcast, if you could share it with somebody, with a friend, family member, rando walking down the street, random internet address, whatever. Just plug one in and just send it off and say, hey, check out the Brave New World Order podcast, dropping wisdom, trying to dissect the reality that we live in. that would be wonderful. Thank you so much for being here on this special 9/11 episode. My very first episode doing 9/11 and being a conspiracy theorist. I say it proudly. I don't give a fuck what negative connotations they have added to it. I'm a conspiracy theorist, and 9/11's a big one, so I'm going to celebrate it. It's like a holiday, kind of dark holiday, I guess, but it was an eye-opening, awakening event, and I think they fucked up by awakening people. And I'll get into that too. I have a little bit of information on that as well. So thank you so much again. And if you really want to help support the show, I'm going to keep this ad-free for as long as I can. I don't want to break up the show. I just want to dive into shit. I just want to talk to you people. I just want to connect. So if you can help out. You can click the link in the show notes. Help keep the Brave New World Order podcast ad-free. Help the show grow. Help it reach new heights. By the people, for the people. And I thank you so much. I'm really enjoying doing the podcast and connecting with you lovely people. So reach out. The Brave New World Order podcast at gmail.com. Follow me on Twitter at BraveNWO podcast. You can hit me up on there. Let's connect. These are going to be trying times ahead. We are in trying times. We need to connect with open-minded people who are willing to just have conversations and just try to figure shit out without getting angry about stuff, being open-minded, realizing that it really is us against them. We shouldn't be fighting each other over them fucking maniacs. So connect with me, follow me, email me, all that good shit. And you can support the show, like I said, by clicking the link. And let's get going. Let's look into some fun, crazy 9/11 shit.
The following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
We are, as they say, tangled in our anchor chain. Our financial systems are decades old. According to some estimates, we cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions. We cannot share information from floor to floor in this building because it's stored on dozens of different technological systems that are inaccessible or incompatible. We maintain 20 to 25% more base infrastructure than we need to support our forces, at an annual waste to taxpayers of some $3 to $4 billion. Fully half of our resources go to infrastructure and overhead. And in addition to draining resources from warfighting, these costly and outdated systems, procedures, and programs stifle innovation as well.
That was Donald Rumsfeld on September 10th, 2001. And if you don't know who he was the Secretary of Defense under George W. And he came out on September 10th, 2001 with a little speech about the Pentagon pretty much being corrupt and all of the bureaucracy involved. And he slipped in that they can't account for an estimated $2.3 trillion and a whole other shitload of problems that the Pentagon is involved with in the bureaucracy and all that shit costing the taxpayers billions of dollars. And they just came out, confessed to everything, and then September 11th happened the next morning, and everybody forgot about what Donald Rumsfeld said the night before. So I just thought we could start with that. I know a lot of people have probably heard that before, but I thought, why shouldn't I just start with September 10th and Donald Rumsfeld, since this is my first episode doing 9/11, and we should start from the beginning, right? So September 10th, Rumsfeld comes out, spills the beans, and then they cover it up by crashing planes into buildings. And that's part of it. But I think there's much more to it. I think this was just an opportunity for them to just get that out there. And they have a method of revealing things ahead of time and just revealing what's happening in certain places at certain times on certain news or certain radio programs, but like pretty much confessing things or putting it out there what their plans are And then it's like karma. I've talked about this before on previous episodes where it's like, oh, we told you, it's up to you, it's your fault, you didn't stop us. That kind of thing. I don't know, some fucking twisted ass, backwards ass karma that they are dealing with. And so, there you go. I think that was pretty good. We should start with Rumsfeld because it's pretty fucking hilarious. Comes out, says all this fucking money's gone. The Pentagon's corrupt. There's like 100 layers of bureaucracy before anything gets done. Billions and billions of dollars being thrown out the window. So there's that part of it. Which, another thing I talk about a lot is the layers. The layers and layers of psychological operations that happen upon each other. And this is one of them. This is one of the layers. The money, the financial part of it. The documents, the Pentagon, Tower 7. Do you know about Tower 7? The third building. There's Tower 1, there's Tower 2, the two main ones. And then there's Tower 7, the third building that went down too. And if you don't know about Tower 7, it was called like the Solomon Brothers building. And they say it collapsed because of debris from the main towers. And then it crumbled. But there's a BBC report out there that you can look it up. You can Google it. It's actually on YouTube still for now. That they pretty much are saying the building went down. It's already crumbled to the ground, Tower 7. But the lady is standing like in a shot where the skyline's there and the building's still there. 20 minutes before it actually went down. And then the footage of it going down is like a controlled demolition. It just goes down, just like the two towers. They look like demolitions. So, Tower 7 is a big part because there's 3 buildings that went down, not just 2. And you'll see, as we get going further into this, why that third building is pretty fucking important. And it's part of the fuck up. It's part of their fuck up. So yeah, I was talking about layers of psyop upon psyop. And layers of information and trails that lead people certain places. That's what I'm getting at. So if you look into this on the surface and you think it's a conspiracy, you're probably going to say follow the money. And what you're going to follow is the Pentagon. The $2.3 trillion and the billions of dollars of taxpayers' money going to waste. Then you're going to look at Tower 7 holding certain files and documents possibly tied to that $2.3 trillion. And then you're going to say, oh, see, that's the reason why it was done. Because of certain money and then to lead us into wars. And that's definitely part of it. To launch a full-scale worldwide terrorism, all that stuff. That's definitely part of it. But when you look deeper and you think occult symbolism, occult ritual, chaos magic ritual on a large scale, worldwide scale, you think that might be crazy. Sure. Sounds fucking crazy, right? But when you look at the way that these people operate, and the way they use symbolism, and the way they use the practices of Freemasonry, and the way they use that shit in a twisted ass way. I'm not saying anything bad about Freemasonry in itself, because I don't know, I'm not a Freemason, but what I've looked at from most people who get into it, it's about just being a better person and helping and providing to your, fellow human and just being a better person. But when you look into occultism and you look at left-hand path, right-hand path style shit, then you see that this stuff could also be used in a dark way. And you could go the left-hand way. And these people go that way. And they use the dark side of all this shit. And that's what the occult is about. And that's why it's hidden the way it is. And the way it's demonized. Because, and the way it's so looked at as being so dark and evil, is because some people use it that way. So I'm going to dive more into the occult symbolism part of 9/11. But I just kind of wanted to set up the stage of how these levels work. Because you're already crazy if you're a conspiracy theorist, right? You're already a nutbag fucking person who thinks certain things about 9/11 or whatever. You think you just don't trust government or whatever, and they'll just laugh at you and all that shit, and you're anti-vaxxer and you want to kill grandma, right? But that's the fucking point. So then you look at it and you follow the money and you come up with a pretty like reasonable sounding thing. Like, yeah, they were trying to cover up certain fucking money being missing and lost and all that shit. And also, justify a large full-scale war for oil and resources and whatever else. And that sounds okay. Well, that sounds pretty reasonable, but you're still fucking crazy for thinking it. But then when you really, really start looking into how these fucking maniacs work, and you see how they create problems and fucking try to provide the solution, and they use the Hegelian dialect, which, if you look into the Hegelian dialect, which was George Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel, however you fucking say his name, who cares? He was a fucking dick. I don't give a fuck about pronouncing his name right. But the Hegelian dialect is the framework for guiding our thoughts and actions into conflicts that lead to a predetermined solution. The synthetic solution to these conflicts can't be introduced unless those being manipulated take a side that will advance the predetermined agenda. Okay? That's the Hegelian dialect that was created by that guy. And that is one of the things they use. Predetermined agenda. You see? So, let's take a look at 9/11 a little bit deeper into using the Hegelian dialect that's pretty much like a mind control psychological fucking operation on a mass scale using occult symbolism and chaos style ritual magic. Sounds fucking nuts, right? Well, you are listening to the Brave New World Order podcast, so let's dive deeper into this. Okay, so first off, we have to get into a little bit of the Kabbalah. I'm probably fucking that up too. I've heard it pronounced different ways. Kabbalah. But that is pretty much occult, ancient occult practice that is practiced by Jewish people. It's a Semitic ancient occult practice, occultism. And their main symbol is what they call the Sephardic Tree of Life. Okay? And that is the ladder to God. And you can Google this for an image. But I am an audio podcast, so you have to kind of follow along. But it's the Tree of Life. I don't know if you've seen it before, but definitely Google this when you have time, and you'll get more of the visual imagery that I speak of. But pretty much, this Tree of Life is the levels of consciousness that go up to God, or to what they call cosmic consciousness, or ascension. So you start at the bottom, at base consciousness, and you ascend up the Tree of Life, the ladder, Jacob's ladder, all that stuff. That's all the same imagery. That's starting at base consciousness, and then ascending upward to cosmic consciousness. And then this Tree of Life, it has a center that has 4 pillars going up the center, and it has these spheres. And these spheres are referred to as Sephirot, and 4 spheres going up in the middle, and then on the right, 3 spheres, on the left, 3 spheres. Sephirot. Okay? For a total of 10 spheres. And that's where the left hand and the right hand path comes into play. And then the middle path, the path of mildness. So the left column, left hand path, and that's also, if you get into Freemasonry and you get into the temples of Solomon and the pillars, and you have 2 pillars, path of Boaz, and the pillar of Boaz, and the pillar of Joachim. I know this gets deep, and I'm just going to try to get on the surface, because this shit can get, I'm still looking into all this shit myself, so I'm just kind of like, dipping my toes in the water and kind of letting you guys know what I'm discovering myself. It's pretty wild shit. It's awesome. Just follow along as best as you can, and definitely hit me up if you want to talk about this some more. It's wild shit, and if you know, like, you might know a lot more about this than I know. I love to look more into all symbolism of the Kabbalah and all that. I wish I had like deep knowledge of it. It's very fascinating. You know, I love to hear feedback. If I get something wrong, I don't know everything. I'm just looking into shit myself here and talking into the microphone, because who else is going to listen to me? You know? Everybody around me is fucking triple, quadruple jabbed, and I can't break the spell. I'm done trying. So I'm trying to figure this reality out and talking to this microphone, putting myself out there. And if I make mistakes, which I probably will, many of them, you know, and you know a little bit more about what I'm talking about, you know, reach out. Let me know. We can talk about it. I love to hear from you. Let's connect. I know if I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent, but this shit is deep. I mean, we're talking about like ancient knowledge that like you could spend a lifetime researching and never really get to the bottom of it. I mean, I assume that because it seems that way. Like, it's so deep. There's so much to learn, and I'm not gonna like fool myself and think like, oh yeah, I know so much about this shit. No, I'm just trying to figure this out too. So if you're listening to me and you're like, what a fucking idiot, you hear what he just said? He doesn't know anything about the Kabbalah. He doesn't even know how to say it. It's fucking Kabbalah, fucking idiot. Then, you know, hit me up. I'd like to know the truth. I like to know what's real. I don't want to be on the microphone, you know, being fucking ignorant to shit, and I'm definitely not closed-minded to being wrong. So, you know, let me know. So let's get back into this here. Where were we? At the 10 spheres of the Sephiroth? The Sephirotic tree of life, the ladder to God. So you have to visualize a pillar up the middle with 4 spheres, and 3 on the right, and 3 on the left, and then there's all these interconnecting, because it can connect into one, into it can collapse, and you know, you can combine the right path and the left path and do different shit. But that's basically what we're dealing with here. These people, these maniacs that pull the strings, know about this shit. They have known about it for a long time, and the events that happen in real time that they orchestrate, they use these methods. They use these symbols, the symbolism. They use ancient texts, ancient knowledge. That's why it's called the occult, because it means hidden. And it's hidden for a reason. It's hidden to keep us from knowing who we truly are and how powerful we truly are as humans. They want to keep all the knowledge to themselves, all of the true fucking documents and the history of the world and what really happened and what God really is and all that stuff. They want to keep that for themselves and then use it in a dark way to control us. And they twist it and they manipulate it and they use some fucked up twisted karma, tell us ahead of time, and then laugh at us because we didn't stop them. That's my understanding of what's going on here. So I'm going to dive a little more into the Tree of Life here to symbolize what was going on with 9/11. All right? So you have to look at what I said, like the pillars, okay? You have 2 pillars that went down, but you actually had 3. And that's why that 3rd pillar, Tower 7, is important, and it's their fuck up. So the tarot cards, right? The tarot, some people pronounce that differently too. Tarot, the tower. There's a tower card. And what that represents is the end of an old way of things. So it's a destruction of the old way of things and a building and a birth of a new way of things. So in the picture of the tarot card, the tower, it's pictured being struck by lightning. And there are people toppling out the windows. Okay? So think about it. Think about what happened. Think about what was blasted all over the television screens. on 9/11, 2001, people jumping out of the windows after explosions, after a plane or whatever happened, whatever brought the fucking things down, people were jumping out of the windows, right? So that's interesting. Check out that. You can look this up. Go look up an image online. Google it, DuckDuckGo it, whatever the fuck you use. Look up the tower in the tarot deck, and you'll see a picture of a tower being struck by lightning and people jumping out of the fucking windows, toppling out of the building. That's the first little bit of symbolism that's kind of mind-blowing. All right? And how old is the tarot? I don't know. Very old, right? I'm not sure. I should have looked that up first. But you can look that up too. I'll look it up after. Tarot's old, and it pretty much goes along with what happened in 9/11. How's that possible? Big coincidence that, or somebody ran the events in real time corresponding to the tarot and used chaos magic to make events happen, or not make events happen, but run the events to create a psychological atmosphere in the world, into control. That's more like it, I would say. All right. So what's important about I'm kind of jumping all around here, and I apologize, but it's what it is. It's a conspiracy theory show, all right? And it's just me running this show, and that's why I appreciate all your support. If you click the link in the show notes, little shameless plug right there. But okay, back to the Kabbalah, right? The tree of life, the 10 spheres, what I said. 4 up the middle, 3 on the right, 3 on the right, 10 total. Very important, because in Jewish mysticism, it's the 10 Sephirot is very specific, that there are only 10. And they actually say the phrase in whatever Hebrew, and they say not 9 and not 11, 10. All right? So 9, 11, right there. Right there in the Kabbalah. They're mocking it. They're also mocking us. They're mocking our path to God and our ascension with all of this. It's really what it is. It's like an energy spell, like a energy jacking spell. Loosh, if you've heard of Loosh, that these, entities, these people, they feed off negative energy. And that's really what it was that. They want to cast a spell and drain your energy and your path, your ascension. Stunt your path of ascension. All right, so then you look at what came down. What did they bring down? They brought down Tower 1, Tower 2, and Tower 7. If you add those up, Tower 1 plus Tower 2 plus Tower 7 equals 10. So they were bringing down 10. Bringing down the 10 Sephirot. See? It's a ritual. Collapsing our path towards ascension. Collapse of the 10 Sephirot. Pretty fucked up if you really think about it. Pretty dark shit. And, you really have to look into the shit, really deep. It's fucked up. It's really fucked up. And if people would only know, if people only knew, right? People only knew what's really going on with what this place is. What's really going on here. In the fucking never-ending push and pull. Good, evil, nonstop, always. From the beginning of time. Always. And we let our guard down. We get stupid. We get hypnotized. We get put under a spell. We become complacent. And I think that's where we are now. Where we were and where a lot of people are still. But there is an awakening. I kind of feel it. I kind of, I hope that I'm not just in a bubble. I try to look around outside of, I know the algorithm puts you in a bubble when you go on social media, and it kind of just gives you what you want to see, so you're happy when you go on there. So I hope that, that I'm not just having this false sense of that people are waking up more and more and trying to figure shit out. But I feel like there's something happening. I feel like it's real. I feel it in my mind, in my soul. So I know when I look within, I don't have to worry so much about what I'm seeing outside. I can look within myself, meditate, and I can try my best to trust my intuition and my instincts. And what I feel like there's something collectively happening against them. And they are desperate, and they don't like it, and they're getting worried, and they're running sloppy shit. So I'm feeling pretty good about the future, even though it seems pretty grim. And my last episode was about, the vaccines and the spiritual war on the astral plane, and it was pretty dark but I'm not even really sold on all that either. I was just reporting on what's going on with Bill Sweet and Oculum Labs. So I'm a little more positive, I think, than what they're reporting on. I think we're going to win. I don't know if they have the cosmic right to, just by giving people vaccines and tricking them to recruit them for a war on a spiritual plane. I don't know if they have that. I don't know if they have that right. I don't think it's their soul to they can't just claim their soul and recruit them to fight against, good just because of a vaccine. I don't know. I'm not sure. So in my mind, for me, I'm a little more hopeful than what the vibe that Gideon and Bill Sweet and those guys are giving off. I don't think that it's hopeless. I don't think we're going to lose. I think good wins in the end. It does win in the end. No doubt about it. Love wins in the end. It's written already. And they can't just change the cosmic rules and just fucking think that just by giving people a vaccine that all of a sudden they have their soul on the astral plane to fight for them. I don't know if I'm buying that. All right, but I know we went off on a tangent, but this is all connected. This is all, like I said, the constant battle of good versus evil that's in all the ancient texts. It's in all the Bible texts. It's in all of it. All the religions, it's always the same shit. It's us versus them. They're trying to enslave us, and we have to not let them. We have to win. So that's why I went off on a little tangent about my last episode with, about Gideon and the Oculum Labs and Astral Plane, because I do think there is a spiritual war, but I don't think it works that way. I just don't. So let's jump back into where I was. Pretty much the collapse of the tree of life, pretty much. Like the collapse of our ladder to God. And that's what they wanted to do. It was symbolic of them crushing our hope and crushing our will to do things and create and to be free. Crush it. And then, obviously look what happened. The Patriot Act, all the fucking surveillance state that happened, all the fucking crackdowns that happened on us. The military industrial complex ramped up times a million ever since that event. So it all lines up. It all makes sense to me. It's definitely psychological. It fucking changed the world. So the collapse of the 10 Sephirot. The left column, the left-hand path of Boaz, that's the path of severity. The right is the path of mercy. That's Joachim, the pillar of Joachim. The third pillar is the path of mildness. That's base consciousness, like I said earlier. And that ascends to cosmic consciousness. The middle pillar is the balance between the left and the right. It's symbolic of not being the dominator nor submitting to domination. And in Buddhism, the middle way, they call it. And then if you look at a tarot card called the High Priestess, you also see what is a mirror image, as if you were in the Temple of Solomon and looking out. You have the columns on each side, and then the third pillar in the middle, which is the High Priestess, the goddess, seated in the middle pillar. Okay? So if you take that image and you think of it as bringing those pillars down, you bring down the right, the left, and then you bring down the goddess. You crush the goddess with the pillars. And she's holding the book of truth in that card. So you crush truth. You crumble truth. You crush truth. You crush the tree of life, which is our ladder to God. You stifle truth. And then it's pretty much a fucking ritual on many levels. It also symbolizes the destruction of the separation of church and state into one world order, one religion. And I think this is where all this fucking scientism comes in, the cult of science now, where you, like, science is just keeping your mouth shut and not questioning science, which is definitely not science. But that's the new science, that's scientism, that's the new cult. And I think that is maybe part of what they're bringing in or using to completely destroy, the separation of church and state and usher in one. They might be using that, some kind of twisted version of that. I don't fucking know. But that's definitely a cult. And they use that to fuck with people and to make you shut up. Don't fucking question the science. Trust the science. All this bullshit. Trust the science. Like, what does that even fucking mean? And that's what I'm saying. This is all this psyop. Mind control. Trauma-based mind control. All of it. And same thing with 9/11. Trauma-based mind control. Everybody's watching this shit. People jumping out of buildings. Towers are on fire. We're being attacked by terrorists. Oh shit, what are we going to do? Everybody's in a frenzy. And if you were alive then, if you're, 21 years? Yeah, so most people listening to the show are older than that, I assume. And I see from the analytics, most people are older than that and have some sense of, what was going on at the time. And I'd love to hear from you if you're younger and you were just maybe like a kid and a baby and had no idea. And then you kind of grew up and went, oh shit, that was much more than what I was told when, from my parents and stuff. Love to hear from everybody. I want to hear like your experiences and stuff, because I think a lot of us probably did wake up with 9/11 for sure. But where was I? Rambling again. Oh yeah, they're just blasting all these images in our faces, and they're talking about terrorists and bombs and anthrax, and it was all this crazy fucking shit going on, just like when the pandemic kicked up, and it was all this stuff you didn't know what was true. You've seen reports out of China, people just dropping dead in the streets, which never happened here or anywhere else. So everybody was shitting their pants, and it was just, it's psychological. And what are you going to be, the person when everybody's in a panic being like, hey, everybody, no, I don't think it's what they're saying it is. They're all going to look at you, right? Like all of us when we didn't want to wear fucking masks or get jabbed or whatever. Like they're looking at you like you're going to kill them. Like that you're a risk to their life. And that was the same thing that happened at 9/11 when they were getting everybody in a frenzy to go fight Muslims and fight Islamic terrorists. And if you didn't go along with that, then you were anti-American and you must be working for them. Same type of shit. Ukraine, same thing. You don't support Ukraine, then you must be a Russian asset. If you don't want to send billions, billions, and trillions of dollars over to Ukraine, you must be a Russian asset. You see how it works? It's the same fucking thing over and over and over again. The same playbook, just different people, different cast of characters. Same fucking playbook. Hegelian dialect. Over and over again. Rituals. Emotional, psychological, chaos rituals. And we can't forget about the Pentagon either. I almost forgot. The Pentagon got hit too. And that Pentagon is the crown. The illuminated one. That's where you ascend to. Or if you look at it from the standpoint of who ran the whole operation, the same thing with the pyramid on the dollar. With the eye, they illuminated the crown, the chief cornerstone, all that shit. That's what the Pentagon represents. I definitely forgot to mention the Pentagon at the beginning when I was talking about its role in the tree of life, the Sephirotic tree of life, the ladder to God. So we'll keep going and look at more tarot and what I mentioned about church and state. being separated. Okay, so there is a card called the Death card. And on the Death card, Death is on a white horse. And he's holding a black flag with an inverted cross. And that symbolizes the destruction of spirit. Okay? And he's riding, and he's trampling over a king. The horse is over a king. You can look this up once again for the imagery. And so you can see for yourselves that I'm not making shit up. I'm not just fucking, off the cuff here, just coming up with some crazy shit. No, this is real. All right? So, black flag running over a fucking king. And he's about to run over a pope or some kind of looking clergy folk. All right? And in the background is the setting sun. They destroyed 2 towers. And in place, they brought up one World Trade Center in place of the 2 towers. That symbolizes what I mentioned earlier about bringing down the separation of church and state, Tower 1, Tower 2, and erecting one in place. One World Trade Center, one world, whatever else you want to add after that. Government, religion, whatever else, right? In that setting sun in the background of the Death card, while the horseman is trampling over church and state, the king and the clergyman, the pope, the priest, whatever he is, as the sun sets in the background, that is the light going out from the world. And then they erect the new phallic male symbol in place, the One World Tower. Okay? You see where this is going? Let me know what you think about all this for sure. Email me, the Brave New World Order Podcast @gmail.com, and follow me on Twitter @BraveNWO Podcast. And we're going to keep going a little further into the numbers of the towers and the flights and how they are all part of the ritual. So this is what would be considered the gematria part of this, of 9/11. And to take a look at that, we have to look at the flights. So we had flight number 11, which struck the North Tower, Tower number 1. And flight number 175 that hit the South Tower, Tower number 2. And then the Pentagon got hit by flight number 77. And the Pentagon is number 77 for a reason. Like I said, it's the crown. And you will see number 77. It's fucked up. You'll see. And then flight number 93 is the one that went down in a field in Pennsylvania somewhere. And that one was probably headed for Tower number 7. And it didn't make it due to whatever circumstances. The passengers went nuts, brought it down, whatever. But most likely, it wasn't headed for D.C., the Capitol, the White House, whatever. It was probably heading for Tower 7. So you got these 4 flights. Flight 11, flight number 175, and flight number 77, and flight number 93 that didn't hit any building. But a third tower did go down in a controlled demolition that they blamed on the debris. So take that for what you will. Maybe 93 was going to hit the White House. I don't know. Maybe it was going to hit the Capitol building. I don't know. But it is awfully suspicious when you look at what I just talked about with the tarot and the 2 pillars and the middle pillar and crumbling the tree of life. And before we get too deep into gematria, I should probably explain a little bit what it is. It's, if you don't know already, a lot of people who have already gone down rabbit holes know a little bit about gematria, but I might as well explain it for some of you who don't know. This is the definition of it according to Wikipedia, all right? It's from Hebrew, and it is the practice of assigning a numerical value to a name, word, or phrase according to an alphanumerical cipher. A single word can yield several values depending on the cipher which is used. There's a Hebrew alphanumeric cipher, which was probably used in biblical times and later adopted by other cultures. And gematria is still widely used in Jewish culture. Similar systems have been used in other languages and cultures. The Greeks and later derived from or inspired by Hebrew gematria, and they called it isopsephy. Isopsephy? I never heard about that. Okay. And later derived from, inspired by Hebrew gematria, Arabic abjad numerals, and English gematria. So, and then, although a type of gematria system, Aru, was employed by the ancient Babylonian culture, their writing script was logographic, and the numerical assignations they made were to whole words. Okay, so there you go. Once again, I've talked about this before, how a lot of this goes back to Babylon and the worship of Babylonian entities that is still going on now by powerful people. So gematria is a rabbit hole. It's so deep, I don't know, like, I've watched and listened to a lot of presentations about gematria, but I am not good with numbers. Math has never been my strong suit, so sometimes this shit just goes around my head, and it's very hard for me to remember all these different connections that other people are really great at remembering, but I think it's interesting. So, that being said, that is what gematria is, and now let's take a look at 9/11 a little more with gematria, all right? So, when you take each one of these flight numbers, all right, so you take the flight number that hit Tower 1, which is 11, and you reduce that down by adding it together. All right, so 1 plus 1 is 2. And then Tower 2 got hit by flight 175. You break that down 2. You go 1 plus 7 plus 5. And then you get 13. And then you can reduce that down even further, and it becomes 4. 1 plus 3 is 4. So that becomes 4. And then the flight that hit the Pentagon, 77, the Crown, that is 14. 14 is a significant number too. We'll get back to that. But reduce that down, you get 5. All right, and then flight number 93 that went down in the field, but was probably going to hit Tower 7. You reduce that down further and further by adding it. 12, 9 plus 3, 12, 1 plus 2, you get 3. All right? So then you're left with 4 numbers, 2, 4, 5, and 3. Add those all together, and you get 14. And with that 14, you can reduce that down even further by adding the 1, the 4, and you get 5. And why that's important is because it symbolizes the 5 elements: air, water, earth, fire, and spirit. And bringing the towers down and running this whole ritual is the separation of the spirit from the 4 elements. And it also symbolizes with the 14 is with you. I don't know if you've seen the dollar bill. A lot of people know about the symbolism on the dollar bill with the pyramid and the eye at the top. If you count the levels of stone, there's 13 levels of stone and separated, and then 1 at the top, separated from it, the eye, the illuminated eye. So the 13 plus the 1, the 14. at the top. The people running the simulation, running the ritual and the simulation. They're running the rituals with all this occult symbolism because they know the power of this stuff and they keep it from us and they follow the left hand, the dark path, instead of the right way. So, also the date itself, 9/11/2001, add that all together. You also get a 14. So, 9 plus 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1, 14. All right, so you get the 14 there too. So these numbers show up on purpose in this ritual. They repeat the numbers on purpose. Like 93 shows up when you add the two planes that hit the two main towers. You have 175 plus 11 equals 186. You divide that by 2 because you have the two buildings collapsing, and you get 93. So 93 appears for each building. 93 that was supposed to hit the middle pillar, the middle column. And 93 in all this symbolism and numerology, it represents the will of action, the will to ascend from base consciousness to the cosmic consciousness, like I talked about earlier in the tree of life, in the ladder to God, to cosmic consciousness, Jacob's ladder, ascension, the will to ascend, will power, your willpower that drives you to move and do actions that lead you to ascend up the ladder, willpower and love. Consciousness expanding actions. This is what this whole ritual was meant to suppress, was to bring down your consciousness, your vibration, suppress your willpower and your love. Suppress your will to act. Okay? So that's pretty deep shit, right? So we're going to go a little more into this numbers. So that's really what I'm trying to say about a lot of these events that happen. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there are some gematria channels out there and occult people that, people follow like the occult rituals and how they're run. So I suggest definitely going out there and following some of those people. I got a lot of information a few years ago and I busted out some old notes when I was deep into some Mark Passio stuff, what in the world is happening, Mark Passio stuff. I'll post a link. He has some pretty awesome stuff. That's where I got a lot of this information. So I busted some notes out, and it's pretty good stuff. And I suggest just diving deeper into this stuff because I wonder, I try to follow like what's happening in real time. But as far as like the ritualistic part of it and stuff, I know it's all mind control and stuff, but like to break it down like this, like it's very, I'm not a mathematician. I get very fucking confused. Like even to break this down and try to communicate it to all you, it's very difficult. So yeah, I'm definitely going to go dive deep into some stuff that's happening now and try to see like if it's being run the same way with the numbers and all that stuff, because I know there's a lot of gematria out there, so it's cool. Definitely dive into that shit. Like I said, I'm no expert in all of this stuff. I'm just trying to figure shit out myself. Just like all of you, I assume, And there are a lot of awesome people out there that really do a lot of good work. I didn't come up with any of this shit myself. I just go and I research stuff that other people have kind of come up with. Like I said, with numbers and doing these gematria stuff, it's very difficult. I'll get all fucking scrambled brains real quick. So let's take a look at number 77, which was the flight that hit the Pentagon. And that is the crown on top of the tree of life that we talked about earlier. The 10 Sephirotic spheres, the Sephiroth, the 10 Sephiroth. Not 9, not 11, but 10. So 77 hit the pentagon, and 93 is such a big number in relation to all this because the number 93 and the number 77 go hand in hand. If you look at in numerology, in all this gematria stuff, 93 and 777, they go, if you take those numbers and you put 777 in the middle and 93 on the right for the right hand, 777 as the middle path. This is like the tree of life that I'm trying to paint the picture of here, okay? And then you take the pentagon, which is 77. It's the crown in the ritual. So scratch what I said. I messed up a little bit earlier, and where I said that the crown is the top of the tree of life. It's not. It's the crown in the ritual. So when you have Tower 1, and then you have Tower 2, and the third tower in the middle, the 3 pillars, and then the crown is what's running. It's the eye. It's the eye at the top of the pyramid. It's running the ritual. It's the crown. It's 14, 77, 1, 4. All right? So when you take these 3 numbers, 77 for the crown, and then you take 77 for the middle path, which symbolizes God in completion, in perfection. You break down 777, you get 21, which is 3. You get God, completion, perfection. All right? Then you get 93, which you break that down, you get 12. When you add it, we're doing gematria again. 9 plus 3, 12. 1 plus 2, 3. It's connected to 777. It's the right-hand path in all of this. The numerology connected to the Kabbalah and the Tree of Life and love and will and ascension. So when you look at the Tree of Life and the number 93 being the right-hand path, and then you have the number 777, which is God in this ritual, which they're trying to bring down our connection to. And then we have the pentagon, which is 77, which represents 2/3 of the tree of life and our path to ascension and our will and love and God and completion and perfection. You can't have 2 without the third. Okay? That's what this is symbolizing in their ritual. 7/7 is 2/3. 2/3 is 0.666 repeating infinitely. All right? 2/3. That's what the pentagon represents. 7/7. The beast in disguise. Sorcery. Chaos. Okay? This is all, I know it's a lot to wrap your mind around, but there's a lot of coincidences here, right? Okay. So put that all together, try to visualize, and if you can, if you have time, when you're at your computer, your phone, try to look up some of this stuff that I talked about with the tarot and the Kabbalah and the Tree of Life, so you can kind of visualize what I'm talking about. And then we look at another reason why they picked the day 9/11 and why that's stuck in everybody's brain. 9/11, 9/11, 9/11. Sometimes you look at the clock, it's 9/11. And you go, oh shit, 9/11. It's been fucking blasted into your fucking brain and programmed into your brain because the number 9/11 is important. Because when you take 9 and you reduce it down, you can't. You get 9. Take 11, you reduce that down, you get 2. You get 92, not 93, which is the path to ascension, God, 777, connected to 93, God. What this is all about is the pentagon, which is the symbol for them, the illuminated ones, they call themselves, I guess. And the all-seeing eye, the crown, the pentagon, number 77, the beast, 666. So you have 92, not 93. One short of God, of love, of our path to ascension. So it symbolizes humanity. Your time has come. You've fallen short. And the time for the beast it's the time for the beast to come. So once again, I got 9, 11. I got 92 from 9, 11. 11, 1 plus 1, you get 2, 9, and 2. Not 93. One short of God. That's them telling us your time is up. You've fallen short, like I just said. And then you take 92 and 93, you reduce these numbers down like we've been doing since the beginning here with this gematria shit. 9 plus 2 is 11. 1 plus 1, 2. Okay, take that number, 2. 9 plus 3, 9 for 93 for God, for the path to ascension, for love. Reduce that down. 9 plus 3, 12. 1 plus 2, 3. Here we get that number again, 2/3, which is 77, which is the crown, the beast. 2/3. Reduce that down, 0.666, repeating, chaos, the sorcerer. Okay? So this whole thing is them bringing down our will to ascend, crushing truth. Like I said in the tarot card with the goddess holding the book of truth, the Torah. She's holding the book of truth, and she's in the middle. That's the middle pillar. That's numbered 93. Flight 93 was most likely supposed to hit 93. She's holding the book of truth. What has happened since 9/11 as far as truth, as far as surveillance? So when you break all these numbers down and you look at it from an occult standpoint and look at the Kabbalah, look at the Tree of Life, and you look at how all these numbers are connected and the flights are all connected to all these symbols in the tarot, with the death card running over the king, state, heading towards the priest, or the pope, the clergyman, whatever he is, church, and the sun setting, the light going out on the world as it tramples the separation of church and state, the two pillars, in the middle, the goddess, truth, all coming down, crumbling, erecting the one new male phallic tower in place of the male and female presence. Okay? So, take that in. Let me know what you think about all that. It's pretty interesting. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. These people, and then you take every event that happened afterwards, and you get to the pandemic, and you get, look at how the psychological warfare that went on, the psyops. So, it's all connected. But with all that being said, it happened, right? And how? How do you think it happened? I'd like to hear your ideas on that too. How did they pull it off? Or maybe you really think it was a couple dudes with box cutters and very limited flight experience, flying a plane, doing some pretty good maneuvers to dip that thing down and aim them right for the buildings and hit them in a place where they would collapse. So, there's a lot of anomalies involved. There are some early reports that they scrubbed. So I want to get into real quick before I say goodbye, because I've gone on for a little while here, I would love to go all into every little theory, but I think I'll do a part 2. I really wanted to take this opportunity too to get into the Hegelian dialect and how the elites and these fucking maniacs use occult symbolism from the Kabbalah, Freemasonry, and they go the left-hand path. I really wanted to talk about that because it correlates with every major event that's happening and has happened. So I wanted to take that chance on this special episode, special anniversary, first time that a 9/11 rolled around since I started the podcast. So I would love to go way, way deeper, and we will. But right now, I just wanted to talk about the significance of Tower 7 and why it is so important, and the fact that it backfired their plan. And I'll explain why. So, Flight 93 was supposed to hit Tower 7 to complete the ritual. And something went wrong. It didn't happen. Like the other buildings. Everything went according to plan. They were able to probably set off those explosives and then finish the demolition, the taking down of those two. But they couldn't just leave the middle pillar. Very important. The goddess. Truth. Holding the book of truth. They had to take that tower down too. So, what they did was just set the charges off. And they fucked up. Because that led people, that's one of the biggest questions, is if you want to open eyes, is talk about Tower 7. Act stupid. Say, I don't know much about 9/11. How many buildings went down? And they'll say 2. And then you say, oh, I heard there was 3, but like I said, I don't know much. It is hard to bring this stuff up, but people have been so brainwashed and everything, all this, the storyline, the narrative, the way that they want it to play out has been so ingrained in each and every person's mind that when you try to break in, it doesn't even matter. I was seeing my mom today. My grandma is 93 years old. She's amazing, but, she doesn't know the way this world is like we do. And my mom, same thing. So they're watching the news and it's just on in the background and it's all 9/11 stuff. And I was just, once in a while throw things out there. And it's not the first time I've mentioned Tower 7 and it just never sticks. It's like every time I mention it, it's the first time I mention it. It's just, they don't care. It doesn't stick in anybody's head. But if you can get somebody to go look into it themselves, and, then maybe. But Tower 7 is important because they fucked up. And instead of crushing the truth and trying to suppress the truth, they had the opposite effect. Like what I said at the beginning, it was the moment for me that actually got me going a little further and further down the rabbit hole into stuff, into conspiracies and the way the government works and the way the world works and all that stuff. So, and I think, like I said, that's why I said at the beginning, I'd love to hear from you, my listeners, if it had the same effect on you. Did it awaken you more to what's going on? Was it no surprise to you? Because I think that it backfired. They tried to run this ritual and crush, truth. And it works on some people. You see that it works. But there is a bunch of us, I know there is, that don't play the fucking game. And I think maybe, a lot of it has to do with this failure of a ritual. So I'd love to hear what you think. Once again, email me, reach out, let's connect. The Brave New World Order podcast at gmail.com. Follow me on that cesspool piece of shit Twitter, but it's fun. I go on there and look at funny fucking memes and shit, but it's still a piece of shit. But yeah, follow me on Twitter at Brave NWO podcast and DM me, whatever. Let's connect. And if you like this episode, please share it with somebody. Please click the like button, leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Share it with your friends, your family, anybody. help the Brave New World Order podcast. And I'm trying to keep this ad-free for you, for all of you out there, because I know what it's like when you listen to podcasts and it's ads, and it just breaks up the show. And me personally, I don't really like that, and I don't really want to mess with ads and all that stuff. So I would really appreciate your support. If you can click the link in the show notes below and help out the Brave New World Order podcast, help the show grow, because I love doing this. I love connecting with you, and I will be back soon. And I hope you enjoy this 9/11 special 21st anniversary of 9/11. We really went deep into all the occult symbolism, and I want to go even deeper. And if you know more about this than I do, if you're listening to this and you are very well versed in all this stuff, reach out and let's talk. All right. So I will see you soon. In the meantime, take care of yourselves. Stay positive. Do what you have to do for yourself, because the world's crazy, right? Should be crazy. Don't stare into the abyss too long. You stare into the abyss and it stares back at you. And then you're fucked. Then you start talking to yourself and shit, right? You start walking around fucking disgruntled and angry. But nah, really, take time. Do what you do, what you like to do, what you enjoy. Spend time with your family, your friends, laugh, watch movies, go outside, exercise, whatever the hell you like, music, whatever you like to do. Just make sure you take that time out of your day to do what brings a smile to your face. And I will see you soon. Question everything. Think for yourselves. Much love.